Back to the Atlanta Hawks. Sorry about that. I digress.
Good dude. Good dude.
So, yeah, injuries. Mike Scott, Cephalosha, Kyle Korver's back, but obviously coming back off of a little bit of a layoff. He's got to get his legs back under him. Didn't shoot particularly well. Turned the ball over a bunch of times. Like a bunch of things that are uncharacteristically happening with this Hawks team as they try to make their move into the playoffs. And the other thing that they're going to be battling is a slight level of expectation. Like, I don't know really what the expectation level is in the city here in Atlanta, because I know that the city is full of pessimists, and
right.
with a huge inability to separate year to year or regime by regime and not understand, that every year has its own individual identity. Much like this team. This team is totally different from last year's team. Last year was the seedling stage.
Implementation.
Right. And now we're seeing those seeds germinate, and they're starting to grow into something that's recognizable. A real basketball team. But there's still another level. Like, this regular season stuff is cool. But the gift and the curse may be the fact that the Hawks did run out to such a large lead. And with a team that doesn't have a whole lot of experience with that type of success, how are they going to handle it moving forward into the next season, which would be the playoffs, when everything starts over? Everything's brand new, and it's going to start over. And now you got to ratchet it. You got to ratchet your intensity up another level from what it was during the regular season. Now, the good news: these last 3 losses have been against Western Conference teams. Although they were Western Conference contenders, there's still a ways to go before you get to that point. In the midst of all this, they lost the tiebreaker to the Golden State Warriors. So if anything ever did come out where they ended up tied or whatever, and they both ended up in the finals, the Golden State Warriors would have the home court advantage. But that's a little bit much to do about nothing right now because, like I said, the Hawks have to get themselves ready to play actual playoff basketball, not this whole 8th seed situation where we're happy to be here. We're going to take the Pacers to 7 games. Woo! No. Now you're the Pacers this year. It's you.
Yeah, right.
Al got to step his game up. Paul got to step his game up.
This is the biggest. This is going to be the biggest test for this Atlanta Hawks team is, a 7-game series. Like, and I've been saying that throughout the whole season. Like, when you see a team maybe once every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks or something like that, like, that's not, in my opinion, it's not the same thing. You know what I'm saying? It's not the same because, you just mentioned several big name guys that are getting playoff ready. You talked about LeBron James. You talked in the East. Then you talked about the Chicago Bulls, who Joakim Noah in an interview, if I'm not mistaken, yesterday was saying that he still believes that they're the most physical team in the East and they're going to be the most difficult in the 7-game series. And if the Bulls are healthy, I agree. They are very, very physical.
Yeah, because they don't know how to quit. Tom Thibodeau doesn't allow them to even realize that certain times you quit. They don't know.
Yeah. And so, it's one of those things where how are they gonna respond in a 7-game series? You always like to point out that in 7 games the best team always wins. So
normally,
in the 7. Yeah, normally, right. So, I'm just kind of interested in seeing once the playoffs get underway in a few weeks, like, are the Hawks truly the most superior team in the East as their regular season record indicates right now, and I hate to use the term built for the regular season, but, if they fall in the first round, then, of course, that's what everybody's going to be saying. So,
well, to me, I don't think that's necessarily a concern as far as the first round goes. I think as far as that goes, the Hawks should be able to handle their business. Now, it's a matter of because I talked about this a couple weeks ago. Down here in Atlanta, for those of you who don't live here, there's this huge call to action about respect and national respect, and no one gives the Hawks national respect. And my proclamation was that those things come with postseason success.
Mm-hmm.
Once you delve into, the things that are going to happen to you during the postseason, and people see what kind of team you are against the cream of the crop and the best of the best, I think then you garner some sort of national acclaim. For the Hawks, fair or unfair, it may come down to something like style points. Like, how do you win that first game, that first round series? Right now, if I can, conjure this up real quick on my trusty tablet here. Right now, it looks as though, God, it's like dial-up city. Right now, it looks like Charlotte, like Kemba and the boys, will be coming to Atlanta in that first round. If the season were to end today.
Boston is still number 8. Well, Boston is still 8 right now.
What I'm looking at says 30 and 38 for Charlotte.
30. That's 31 and 39 is Boston. Charlotte is 30 and 39.
Okay, maybe I need to hit refresh on this thing there.
So it's a half game. It's a half game to separate Charlotte and Boston.
All right, let's do the old refresh. Abraca refresh. Bling. There we go. Boston. All right. So right now it looks like Brad. What's his name? What's the coach name? Bradley
Stevenson.
Brad Stevenson and my guy Mr. Smart, who just coming off a 1-game suspension for a little cheap shot action going on. Kid still losing his temper, I see, and this time had nothing to do with the N-word. Well, maybe it did. I don't know. That N-word starts flying around. Speaking of the N-word, shout out to the SAEs. I forgot to mention this yesterday. Got a little like on Instagram from an SAE member. I'm trying to tell you MFers, I'm especially all inclusive. Like, yeah, racist, gay, whatever you are. Come, like, I'm like the church. Yeah, come as you are. I deal with you.
Oh yeah,
it's all good.
Yeah.
So shout out to them. I forgot what picture they like, but whatever. Man had his proud SAE letters in his profile. I immediately screen captured it and tweeted it too. So proud of that. Immediately. So you can go to @SportsKingsLive on Twitter and check out the screen grab of the SAE showing the King some love. No doubt. Anyway, so yeah, Boston. So you get, like, I'm always confused. The NBA does reseed, right, after the first round. Is that true? Is that how that works? Or
do they reseed?
Or am I always talking about they should reseed? I know I always say the NFL should reseed, but I think the NBA does reseed after the first round. So the Hawks would take on the Boston Celtics. Then the 2-7 matchup would be Miami and Cleveland. And let's say Miami beats Cleveland. I guess the Hawks would then take on Miami, the lower seed, the lower of the seed.
Oh yeah, that's what you mean by reseed. Yeah,
right.
They do. Yeah, they do that. Okay. Yeah.
And then you got, these are some beatable teams as far as this lower half, this 5, 6, 7, 8, Washington, Milwaukee, Miami, and Boston. Those are some beatable teams. What's going to happen is these semifinals and finals where now you're talking about playing the Chicagos of the world. The Toronto situation, I'm still kind of about that.
Well, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Toronto beat Atlanta. I think they beat us every time we played them this year. If I'm not mistaken, it might be 2-1 or 3-1. We ended up with
not sure?
one win.
That might be opposite of that. I think the one win they got was the last one they came out here and just really pushing in. I think the Hawks had won the two previous to that. And then the last one that came down here after the All-Star break and just got it straight pushed it. When Lou came back in and had a good game, remember they got destroyed right after the All-Star break. I don't know.
So I think it might be 2-1, but or 2-2, something like that. But I know they got the that's really good 2 times, one here, one there.
Okay, so there's that, and quite frankly, I'm looking forward to seeing these Atlanta Hawks in the NBA playoffs, just to see how they react to having this number 1 seed and having the spotlight shown so directly on them. One of the guys I don't worry about, and I was thinking about this today, is Jeff Teague, because I was thinking about guys who have shown themselves to rise to this type of occasion. And like people in other parts of the country, if you're listening to this, you may not remember this as vividly as someone here like myself does, but Jeff Teague's coming out party was against the Bulls in the playoffs against Derrick Rose. Like, that's when people start, this kid can play. And I think shortly thereafterwards, we we interviewed him because there was this whole thing about, they should have been playing Jeff. And I asked Jeff, should they have? He was like, nope, I wasn't ready. And that squashed it. It was that. That's what it was. You know what I mean? And
3-1 is the record. Toronto versus Atlanta.
Ooh, well, there's that. With Jeff, so with Jeff, he has the ability to turn it up when the lights come on. The only, not the only, but the problem that I kind of see is when I start talking about these other dudes, man. And I'm really not the guy to always be like talking about like swag and all that kind of stuff. But in a certain aspect, like the talented dudes that have swag, like the Steph Currys, I'm talking like the Russell Westbrook, and his 6-shooter thing he does after he hits the three, like. In a playoff series when everything is just going, like, you remember when Golden State had like Baron Davis and Steve Jackson and they pulled that big upset against the Mavericks, like how crazy that place was. Like that's when that stuff comes into play. Like when you have characters on your team like Baron Davis dunking on dudes and getting naked on the court, you know what I mean? When stuff like that is.
I watched that highlight over the weekend.
And it never gets old, does it?
Baron Davis. His highlight reel.
Yeah, it never gets old. That dude, it was so nasty. He just had to go like get naked.
People forget how disgusting this dude was when it came to get around the rim, man. Like,
yes.
Baron Davis was a freak of nature, man. I mean, it didn't last, for a long time, but because he played with the Charlotte Hornets, the original Charlotte Hornets. And then he played for Golden State, and he played somewhere else after that.
But he ended up going to the Knicks.
The highlights were limitless, man. That dude was phenomenal.
O.B. Diddy. Yes, sir. That highlight never gets old because it was so organic. It wasn't like a planned celebration. He just knew how nasty it was. Like, I just got to get all this funk off of me. I just got to get all of it off of me. It's so nasty. Oh, yes.
That was against Andre Karolinko. Yeah.
Oh, the AK-47, huh?
Yeah. I'm talking about guy good.
Oh, yes. Yeah, he put that ass in the rim. Yeah, he did. Oh. But moving on from the Atlanta Hawks, as far as the rest of the.
And he did get a technical. Of
course, the dude was about to get naked on the court. What you thought was going to happen? And two, trust me, that team was all like that. Don Nelson squad was all about the tech. They ain't give a damn. You just heard me say Steven Jackson was on the team. Done.
Yes, but see, that's what got him the game was that after he dunked on Andre Karolinko, Steven Jackson came over there and started banning him and blowing him like, "What you
right?" Exactly. So when you say that, it's like, yeah, of course, that's just part of it. You supposed to. That team, yeah, they wasn't about nothing but getting up and down the court. It's either gonna be a dunk or a three. Period. Done deal. We ain't running no plays. We gonna shoot threes and we gonna dunk. Done. That was some fun basketball though. Too bad it couldn't last. Oh well. Real basketball took over eventually.
But you know what? The Warriors have been good for that, man. I mean, right TMC, then the Chris Webber days, like the Golden State they've been known for that.
Well, that's what makes this team different because they're still fun to watch. But Steve Kerr has those boys out there playing defense, man, and right. That's the thing that's gonna get them over the top if they, if they happen to get to that point where they're in the finals. That's the thing. I heard God, what's the dude's name that's been covering LeBron since he was in high school? What's that kid's
name? The guy
that
wrote the book?
Nah, the dude that's on ESPN now. He may have written the book. I'm not sure, but the dude, I'm looking at his name.
Yeah, he wrote the book. What is the Horror of Cleveland or something like that?
Brian Horseman.
Horseman, yeah. Yeah,
he was talking about the difference. He was talking about this Atlanta Hawks team and talking about how what's different for them is that they win the way they win. If you compare and contrast that to a Golden State team, they win in a variety of ways. Like there's games where Steph ain't hot. You know what I mean? And they play defense. You got guys like Harrison Barnes on the athletic side. You got guys like Draymond Green doing his thing. Even the couple games they had to miss from Klay Thompson, it just kept rolling because they have a variety of ways to win ball games. With the Hawks, it's about crisp movement. It's about how in sync they are on the offensive end. and how on a string they are defensively, how everyone is talking and switching and helping and running people off the 3-point line, switching on pick and rolls and all that kind of their athleticism.